All right, so if the customer says the DSL connection is constantly dropping or is slow, you'll want to go to the NID, disconnect the inside wiring, and check for sync. You cannot check for sync if there's a modem on the line. So I'm not at a NID right now, but for demonstration purposes, we've got our red and black clamps clamped onto the blue pair. Now make sure your meter's set to tip ring. You can change it there to the RJ11 port, and that'll test for sync that way. You can just plug it into the side inside at the jack, but we're testing with the leads, so we'll put it on tip ring. Now what'll happen is it'll go idle, handshake, training, and if you've got a bad pair or a break in the line or just a lot of corrosion, a lot of times what'll happen is it'll handshake train, handshake train, handshake train, but it'll never actually go into sync. And it'll do that over and over. And if it does go into sync, you might see that immediately you have a bunch of errors, or that the rate is maxed out and it's lower than it should be. You always want a little bit of headroom, a little bit of margin for a good, reliable connection. All right, so we'll see what we get here. Handshake training. This takes a while. And when you're like trying to troubleshoot a bad line and you've got to cut open the pair at multiple places, run this test multiple times, it can be time consuming. All right, so this is good. This is a 6 meg. This is a good connection here. So 6.4 down, 635 up. Irregardless of the speed, you want to look for a few things to see if the line and the connection's in good shape. It tells you up here that this is ADSL. Our capacity is 41 and 46%, meaning that's the percentage of the max that he's using. So his max rates are 15.4 and 1.3. So in theory, we could turn this up all the way to 15 and it would still work fine. Margins, his margins are really good, 30 decibels. When you're using more capacity, your margin decreases. So it's the same if your cable pair is bad. You want your margin to be at least like 6.5 decibels. You'll look at the CRC, FEC, and even these RTX UC. CRC is like near side, FEC is far side. They're errors. And you'll have errors on the line when there's an open or corrosion or blah, 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 and they'll stack. So you'll get like slowly accumulating errors, and the problem's not so bad. If you get like 1,000 in 5 minutes, not a big deal. But if you got a big problem, you'll get 10,000 a second or every few seconds. And sometimes you'll want to connect, let it run, sync for 5-6 minutes or even longer, and then you might see errors popping up after a certain amount of time. This connection's perfect. They could crank it up and it would still work fine.